Hello, my name is Harriton Buatco. At this topic, or the second part, we're going to talk about the Council of Foreign Affairs, which is just organized here, of which the chairman is our guest, Ambassador Joe Romero. Ambassador, ano itong bagong organisasyon and what is its objective?
Well, basically, it's not a new organization. This was organized by Vice President Pelaez in
Manuel Pelaez, yes.
1985 when he was Foreign Affairs Secretary, then Macapagal, and Salvador Lopez, one of our really tried and tested diplomat, United Nations. So the both of them came up with this organization, which is different from other organizations in other parts of the world because we believe that foreign policy is an extension of domestic policy. So we do not want to repeat the situation where some few negotiators in Washington, D.C. who wanted to preserve the sugar quota and the coconut quota and everything, sugar bloc, started to dictate our foreign policy in exchange for the privileges in the U.S. market, even parity rights.
Tama yun.
No,
tama
parity
yun.
rights was clearly inimical to our interest.
It was.
So the new constitution of Cory, 87, insisted that you should have an independent policy, probably referring to the fact that foreign policy should not be dictated outside and should not be on its own, stand alone.
But wasn't Cory pro-American, so was
Yes.
Pinoy.
Yes.
He was they were both very... And you were saying before we started the program that it is unconstitutional to be dependent towards one country, for example,
Yes.
like America.
Yes.
And yet all the presidents in this republic, all 14 of them, except for Duterte, all paid homage to the American presidents.
Right.
Every single one of them.
Well, simply because we were dependent on for a credible defense from the Americans to provide us with a second-hand, thing and all that. And
The use of the second-hand guns, correct.
God.
But so you're saying the only real president that followed the Constitution is really only Duterte today. Sa lakas loob niya, he's doing. You were even telling me before the show that Deng Xiaoping, back in the 70s, was already talking bilateral trade with the South China Sea,
Right.
bilateral relationships.
Right.
And yet, hindi natuloy. It took another 50 years.
Well, Marcos tried to play it smart. He was negotiating with the U.S. to shorten the basis agreement, remember?
Which he did.
Which he did.
He succeeded.
1925.
And then also flew to China.
Flew to China, and then went to Russia.
Nag-Russia rin siya, nag-Russo din siya.
And then Middle East. So he went to
Even,
Gaddafi.
Arafat even.
Gaddafi and all
Gaddafi,
that. So he started, the independent foreign policy started with Marcos. Actually, that was a great
So both of
contribution.
them, Duterte and Marcos, are the only ones who actually have the correct foreign policy, which is
Yes.
to everybody, not
Yes.
dependent on one.
It's called a rebalancing,
Rebalancing.
an interdependent foreign policy.
Which is what we have supposedly now.
Yes, because right now the concept of nationhood has been conditioned by regionalism. So we have
ASEAN.
now part of ASEAN. And
Is the ASEAN between us? Is it working? Parang wala nangyayari. All the promises many years back never came into fruition, be it for exchange of labor, whatever.
ASEAN was actually the brainchild of Macapagal, who tried to prevent the Indonesians and the Malaysians from killing each other over Sabah. So he created the Mafilindo.
Okay.
Mafilindo, and to the extent that it stopped people from killing each other.
Which is good. Anything to stop killing is good.
Yeah. And it's been slow. But when I see that the Sabah is now connected to Zamboanga by the Roro and Menado to Davao, so it's happening very slowly, but I like that to happen faster, And then we have the zero preferential trade thing, and that helps. It helps.
Everything is moving.
It's moving. I said.
Why did you create this new organization, or why did you revive it? I've been seeing it on Facebook.
Yes.
And you have a lot of experts, foreign experts.
We are doing track to diplomacy. Well, track to diplomacy is P2P, people to people,
Okay.
instead of government to government, you know. So sensing this, after the arbitration thing, China wanted to talk to the Philippine government, but to talk to the Philippine government but have been perceived to be weakened. Loss of pace, weakening of China's position. I mean, so they approached me.
Okay,
said,
good.
And my organization. And they
You're
said,
not a Trillanes, backdoor negotiation.
well, I am, actually.
Okay, continue.
Yeah.
You're saying it. Sige, go.
Yeah, I'm back to but the government knew about it. I told everybody. I've been invited by the deputy foreign minister, by the Chinese government. Thing.
Okay, interesting.
So I went there, and then I sat like this with the deputy foreign minister, Ambassador Liu, and he said, "Why are we going to fight? We have 1,000 years of relationship." I think.
Ang daming Chinese-Filipino eh. Hindi, di ba? Heritage din natin sila.
Yeah, we already have been on though.
Yeah, the oldest Chinatown in the world, mind you.
Yeah.
The first, I think.
So he said, this. Why do we fight? I mean, okay, you don't want to give up your claims. We're not going to give up our claims. So let's talk about other things.
Trade. Why
Yeah.
not?
So why play a zero-sum game when we can do a win-win situation? You know, with some people here would prefer the first zero
May
game.
mga crazy.
But you play the zero-sum game. Okay,
Negative ka rin eh.
negative.
No one wins.
They won't listen to our own neighbors are not supporting us. The U.S. is not supporting us.
I agree. I agree.
So, I mean, why play that game? You know?
And yet that's heavily criticized by many leaders around the world that tell us to beware. Because with China and their goods and their trade come with Chinese labor that will come and infest, so to speak, your population. It is one road, one belt, one road.
You know,
they'll bring in the money, but they'll also bring in the laborers. Puro inchik din yan.
Let's face it. I mean, the Chinese have dominated us from the beginning. So what did we do? We've given them a Filipino citizenship. They're not Filipinos.
Marami nga.
The Chinese, Filipinos with short names, who now control the economy. They're Chinese.
Yeah,
I mean,
the oligarchs, okay.
The
Well,
Filipino,
Tambuat ko is Chinese.
Yeah, very Chinese.
Yeah.
So is my family. My maternal great-grandfather.
No, Spanish ka, Romero eh.
Well, on the other side.
On the other side.
On the other
At the other side,
both.
Chinese
Yeah.
then. Oh,
Because
see?
That's the Filipino. We're multiracial. We have Spanish.
We are.
We're thing.
Melting
That's why
pot.
we're friends with everyone. We're friends
Yes.
with everybody, and that should be.
And we've made citizens of all of them. Parang
Exactly.
New York tayo eh.
So that should be the core value of Philippine foreign
well,
policy.
That's the reality. That should be ideally.
Yes,
I
yes.
see.
We can cash in on this thing. As I said, when I was always getting chairmanship in committees in the UN. Why? Because the ASEANs treat us as brothers. The Americans as little brother.
Well, we used to be called brown brother. Little brown brother.
Little brown brother.
Actually, second-class citizen tayo sa
Yeah,
kanila.
and then the mestizos there, the Latinos look at us another,
Yes.
So that's the core thing, and that is really how we should play this diplomacy.
But you
not a
have
game.
no legal authoritative position from government to represent the
because
country.
if we do, then the minute you are sitting across the table on an official
magkamali ka lang.
negotiation, you are very guarded. Negotiate. This is negotiation. You have pieces of paper, thing like that. But in track to diplomacy, we're very open.
You can talk openly.
I've signed up with our think tanks on the other side, who open thing. I know during our discussions, we are very frank with each other. Says, are you going to dominate us on this?
Straightforward.
Yeah, or are you going to become partner?
And what have you found with China? Okay naman, wala. There's nothing to fear.
Well, it's hard to talk about China now because, as I said, you have to talk about the PLA. People's
China,
Liberation. You have to
internal nila.
talk about the Communist Party in China. You have to talk about the rising middle class in China, which is now defining actually the actuation of China. This middle class, the rising middle class, is going to internationalize. They go out in the world. They come back with a different
But the
ideas.
Council of Foreign Affairs will need to talk to all the groups, depending on who wins in the end and who leads.
Well,
them.
November is a defining moment for Xi Jinping because that's when all of these sectors I talked about we're going to meet.
Ay, akala ko 300 lang, ngayon 400 na sila, dumami na pala eh.
Yeah,
And they will choose the
they'll
top 5, right?
Yeah.
And the last 2.
And Xi Jinping wants to dominate the world economy. They can do this by soft power. The Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank,
AIIB.
the New Silk Road,
The
One
New Silk
Belt,
Road,
One
One
Road, the
Road.
maritime thing, the thing, the
Ba't
land
America
thing.
walang ganon? I mean,
Well,
considering they've been in power, they were respected, they are respected by the European countries. For us, we were kissing their ass for years on end.
For years, they were acting as policemen. The world.
Yes, policemen of the world.
Okay, so they wanted to promote democracy in the Middle East. They
That's where they
destroyed
failed.
Iraq.
Yeah,
and, all
they
that.
failed in the Middle
And part
East.
of our problems here comes from that policy, because the ISIS that got
Yes,
thrown
yes,
out there,
yes.
it created a war between the Shias and the Sunnis.
Yeah, sila.
Because by now they want to remove Assad. And it's going to be a mistake. They're going to remove the Iraqi
Yeah,
Saddam.
president, yes.
Because they do that, the Sunnis of Saddam started to fight with the Shia, creating the ISIS, creating
And ngayon, the
Daesh.
Kurds, they want a separate movement away
It
from
created
Iraq.
that weapons of mass destruction was not never there in the first place. It's created a lot of problems in the world. But then, why is America staying away? Because they've learned.
No, why
that-
did they ever build? Like, through soft power, kaya naman nila, their economy sa lakas.
Well,
They have all the different people of the world. There is no real American other than the American Indian, and they're basically Europeans and the
Right.
people of the world. How dare them say they're basically just, parang tayo yan eh. We can't say Filipino, we're Chinese,
there are
Indian,
all
we're
kinds of
everything.
Americans.
Oh, yun na nga eh. Buti sana kung Europeano, German lang, German.
There is my family there who are Americans,
Oh,
and
yeah, yeah.
relatives, your relatives.
Same, my family's in America as well.
But then there's the military-industrial establishment.
The strongest in the world.
They have to produce a lot of carriers, bigger and bigger bombers, bigger and bigger aircraft carriers. And what do they do with that? Only for defense or for offense? You know?
Well,
And-
so far it seems it has been for offense.
and that is the reason, when I was in China, they explained to me that the reason why they started to reclaim the land there is when Obama and Panetta decided to pivot to China, bringing with them the 7th Fleet.
Oo
You
nga.
know, you're in China, you're facing the biggest maritime fleet in the
And it's in
world,
front of you.
in front of you, because your development thing is right there in the
Correct.
Pacific Ocean, China. And then you remember maybe the Opium Wars.
They're going to invade us. They're going to take us apart.
They took, like the British and the French and the Americans took us apart. I mean, they haven't forgotten this century of humiliation, as they call it.
Yes,
there.
yes. It's
So,
a century of
you know,
humiliation.
so actually these islands are, this is for defensive purposes. Actually, they're not going to attack anybody. We're going to attack you economically. We're going to build your roads, etc., and we'll benefit that way. But we are going to, these islands will be used for security, for defensive purposes, so they can find out how many
So you're
submarines
really
there are
not
there.
against it. You are totally against
No.
the threat that Justice Carpio is promoting everywhere in media. That be
Well-
careful, they're going to take over. The Chinese are going to invade us. Di ba? That's basically what he's saying.
It's a possible threat, but that is a thing that we cannot do anything about, because they're
Correct.
not going to move out of the thing.
Yeah, we can push them out.
We can't push them out on the thing. We get a bloody nose if we do that. if we
No,
don't
but he's
have that.
promoting and he's proposing we fight them all through and through. And he's with the judicial. You've read what he's manifested.
I don't know whether it's gone that far, but certainly.
He keeps saying that. Roy Logoles is another one who's saying we are in danger. We're going to get bombed.
Okay, you put yourself in the place of President Duterte, right? You have an arbitration case which you cannot enforce.
Correct.
Right, so what do? Just disappear from the world? China is going to be the biggest economy by 2040.
Yes.
And the ASEAN has signed up with China on the regional, external,
Eh,
comprehensive
neighbor
thing.
natin, eh. Layo ng Amerika.
Exactly.
Tsaka we have no real trade anymore with America.
That will be our market. So what's the choice? Prefer politics to economics. That's where my counsel comes in, because you have to consider the economic side. All of these things, money coming in, and that's the common good. That's food, clothing, and shelter, right? Now these people you're talking about wants politics. So our whatever it is, and all that. Prestige, patriotism, nationalism. But you can't eat that thing. You have to compromise, So without giving the claim, that's what we did with Sabah. Remember? Sabah is ours.
Correct.
I'm convinced Sabah is ours. So what did we do? Well,
we didn't attack them. We didn't attack Malaysia.
They didn't attack us. Well, maybe we tried to.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, yeah.
No, I don't think so.
The Sultan did.
I don't think so. But then, the Tausugs are, I think, living better in Sabah than they would have lived
Been here.
in Sulu, So, in fact, I have a formula for that, which is to create, I was talking to the
Trade.
Kiram family. I said, look, why don't the Philippines and Malaysia put up a fund for you and to train the Tausugs? Because Sabah is actually Tausugs. But the Tausugs there do not claim to be Filipinos.
They're Malay.
Even if they are coming from here. Because they're better off in,
Yeah.
What
They'll
they want
put
to
them
do is to secede from Malaysia.
To be alone and independent,
Yeah,
like
together
everybody
with-
else. Why is everybody going to secession, di ba?
That's why there was a time when the Suluanos and the Sabahans wanted to get together in time of Tun Mustafa and secede from the Philippines and Malaysia.
My gosh. Soon it'll be Mindanao away from everything else here.
That's why, the BBL is a very tricky thing, That could be a slippery slope,
You're against that, the BBL?
Of course. Not the way it's crafted
Federalism. Let me just go out a bit. Federalism.
I just came from a lecture. You should get a copy of the lecture given by the German scholar this morning. I was invited by Pimentel, and it gives you there all the pitfalls of federalism. Yeah.
They were the coming together. We are together breaking apart into federalism. So against ka rin sa federalism.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, we're going to have to talk about all these different subjects. They've been coming to me and talking all about it.
Yeah.
The answer, Duterte's answer to the war in Mindanao
I
is
believe
federalism.
there are two kinds of federalism. I favor the fiscal federalism, not the political. The fiscal federalism can be done by a stroke of the pen.
Yeah, just sending the funds out. Don't keep it
Yes.
centralized.
And you don't
Share.
You don't have to put the funds out. The funds are there, and it's flowing to Manila.
Basta develop the rest of the country.
VAT, for example, the excise taxes, custom taxes, it goes to Manila, and then they try to bring it back, but not all of it.
It trickles in trickles.
Just a Supreme Court decision, and then the executive.
But the political positioning of federalism will just strengthen dynasties.
That's what he said. It creates dynasties. It may create secessionalist. It's Catalonia and now it's Barcelona is now, in Spain.
They're trying
The
to
Catalan,
secede as well.
Spain.
Sila federal government na sila.
Yes. Yeah.
But they're having their problems. But with us, we've been so segregated. Well, power is really concentrated in Manila. It still is, in spite of the president living in Mindanao.
Only because of the fiscal arrangement.
Yeah, the budgets here,
As I said,
the banks.
if you release the VAT and the thing, they will have enough money. It will not completely starve Manila.
Oh, but they can develop
They
themselves.
can develop themselves, yeah. There's no need for thing. And there are so many complications, And
So
because
you're for fiscal federalism. That I've always been for. it's the political nga nakakatakot yung mga dynasties para sa akin. Ano?
Yes, dynasties.
That's another point. But I'm still relatively for federalism, so to
Yeah.
speak. Are you agreeable to Duterte being our president? Okay ba siya sa'yo? I mean, your group, the Council of Foreign Affairs.
It's not for me to decide that. The Filipino people, they decided to have him there. But one thing that I favor...
But that's democracy, di ba? I mean,
Yeah, of
the rule of
course.
the majority. Pero ayon ng marami, democracy, gaya ng Liberal Party, they want to bring it back to themselves.
Yeah, but to me, one very important thing that he has done was to promote this independent foreign policy, because that is a new watershed
Oh,
for
independent nga siya.
the Philippines. I
So
mean,
you
that
agree
has
with
changed.
Alan Cayetano, we've got Teddy Boy Locsin there, we've got the new ambassador, si Babes Romualdez.
Yes.
These guys are free thinkers, mind you.
Yes.
They were all like, well, Teddy Boy was with Cory, no?
Yes.
Teddy Boy Locsin was very strong with Cory. That's another
Yeah.
issue. And they're very pro-American. I'm not
No,
sure
it's,
where about
yes.
Babes Romualdez. Pero pagkaalam ko, maraming kaibigan niya sa Amerika eh.
But it's not. To me, it's rebalancing. It's not pro or anti.
It's
You're for
rebalancing.
China, and then you're
Pero
against
for
the U.S.
economic progress.
Yeah.
yeah,
So you're
yeah,
friends
good.
of both.
Yeah,
Man,
yeah.
if we can get closer to you both.
Why have an
countries,
enemy?
Why have an enemy? Yeah. Win friends, influence people. That's diplomacy.
Correct. Ambassador, we're at the end of the program. You know, it's very easy to talk to you on a program because one, you've hosted shows, you've hosted many topics as well, and today you are the chairman of the Council on Foreign Affairs. What would be your message as we end our program to our viewers?
Well, our message to the thing is to be a little bit more knowledgeable about the external environment. We've been
Read.
too insular,
so
very
read.
provincial. Read and listen to programs like Harry Tambotko.
Well, thank you very much.
When you bring up these things, to the public space, they learn. They learn. So there should be more of that, more in school. Stop reading all of those books that are written by by our colonizers, and let's write our own narratives.
Well, as they say, our history is based on the victors.
Yeah, and this is one way of my promoting my books. I have written 3 things on Philippine political economy. Yeah,
We
from
had
the
that book
earliest and the thing. Yeah, and so I encourage my other scholars to do the same thing. To write up about our own history, Filipino thing. We're pretty good at that. Yeah.
Well, when you have manifestos or whatever that comes out from the Council of Foreign Affairs, please hand it over. We'd be more than willing to expose it here on.
Oh, great, yeah.
And if not, bring the council if necessary to educate.
We have 3 clusters.
Okay.
The first cluster is a diplomatic cluster.
All right.
These are composed of veteran, retired ambassadors.
Oh, may know-how na lahat yan eh.
Baha, all of these people, Bautista. We have the security cluster. We'll have one. We will invite you. We're going to have a security symposium.
Okay.
The retired generals, chiefs of staff, and
Different points of view. Yeah, maganda
3-star,
yan.
4-star security thing. Then we have the academe, of course, and then we have the business group, the CEOs. And I think foreign policy should not be dictated only by the palace or by Congress, but it should be
By the
participatory by all of these sectors. That's when you can have a good, sound, solid foreign policy. That's what the council is all about.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. Well, there you are. That will give you a briefing, or at least a mindful of ideas that will open up the concepts that we seem to be engaging ourselves in with threat. So I guess need not be too scared. I'll bring to you more of the Council of Foreign Affairs as they develop or have more meetings. I'll bring you up to date on their manifesto, so to speak, so that we can all be educated, so we can keep in touch. Thank you very much. We hope you've enjoyed our program. Stay with us. We have more right here on GNN. Thank you very much, Ambassador.